Hey yo folks, what's popping? It's Logan from Low Dog Outdoors, and today we're doing a review and a setup video on the Lew's Laser TXS baitcaster. This baitcaster is going to come in at $120. You can buy this thing at Academy. It is a 610 medium heavy baitcaster, so let's get to the review and setup. Alright, to start off with the baitcaster, some of the features on it, as you can tell, you have the Laser TXS logo, and you have these nice little wind grips. You have one here, one on the casting part, and the grips on the normal handles right here on the cranks. It is a 7:5-to-1 gear ratio rod. It has a nice tension knob located right behind your cranks, and if you flip the rod around, it has a nice little brake system located on the left side. We'll get to talking about the brake system and tension in a second here. As you can see, the rod is in about like a lime green color mixed in with some gray here. Now let's get to the setup of the rod. Alright guys, as you can see, this is my baitcaster. I just brought it home from Academy. So what you're going to want to do to set it up is two simple tests, where you're going to do a brake test and a drop test. So let's get to the drop test first. So what you're going to want to do, located conveniently on the right hand side of your baitcaster, is going to be this nice little green tension knob. So what you're going to want to do is, depending on the weight and size of your bait, that is going to determine however much line comes off your baitcaster, which could lead to bird's nest, which would lead to ruining your fishing trips. You definitely don't want that. So to start off the drop test, you're going to want to reel close up to the top of your rod, click, caster, and you want it to drop. If you're casting far, you're going to want to drop at a gradual speed just like mine is dropping, maybe a little bit more. You're going to want it to drop at a nice speed, right about like that, a little bit less, right about like that if you're far casting. So now let's get to short casting. If you're trying to flip or pitch or cast short under some cover or brush, you're going to want to loosen that up so your bait can get out under the docks quickly. So what you're going to want to do is pull the tension knob back towards you to loosen it up. So you're going to want it to drop faster, just like this. As you can see, it drops faster, leading more line to come off the spool quicker. So with every bait I do, if I retie a new bait on my baitcaster, I'm going to do this test. And depending on if I'm casting far or short, I'm going to do this test. It can just take 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, however many you need to get your baitcaster tuned in. And this will help you so much. It might not seem like much and it might seem like it wastes time, but this will help you tremendously. Alright, now let's get to the brake system. So the brake system, it has a whole different number of things it does. It depends. It kind of breaks your line as it gets close to the water. So with your brake, if you're a beginner, I recommend you place your brake in the range from a 7 to a 10, probably right around an 8.5, 7.5. If you're a bit more experienced, I recommend you place your brake from around a 7 to a 4, maybe around a 5 to 6. If you're really experienced with baitcasters, maybe a 1, 2, or you don't even have to have your brake on at all. The brake pretty much just helps you your line in the air. It helps you a lot with your baitcaster. So I really recommend, if you're a beginner again, putting that brake up high, middle, kind of put your brake somewhere in the middle. And if you're really experienced, put your brake very low. Alright, that's going to be it for the setup. Now we're going to do some casting tests and a fishing test with this. Alright guys, as you can see, I have my baitcaster tuned for flipping and pitching. You're going to want to loosen that tension knob down, but you got to make sure to have your hand located right next to the spool, because if you don't, this thing is going to bird's nest quick. So this is going to be a little flipping and pitching test with the Lew's Laser TXS. Let's get right into it. Really like the pitching on this. This is really clean. As I've already said, it's a nice 610 medium heavy rod. It's got some really good wind grips and some really good cranks on this thing. 7:5-to-1 gear ratio. It is a speed spool as well, so I really like all the specs of this rod. Very good for flipping and pitching. I highly recommend this rod. This is one of the Lew's mid-range rods, so it's a great option. Whereas if you want to pay around $500 for the Lew's Pro TI, which I see is a lot of money for a baitcaster, especially when you're starting out, but you don't want to get the American Hero, which is around, I believe, $100. This at $120 is a perfect baitcaster for you. Let's get one more pitch, and then we'll do a far distance casting test. Alright guys, that's it for the flipping and pitching test. Now let's go to the pond and do some far distance casting. Alright guys, we've got to the pond. Now we're going to do some far distance casting. So with this little tension knob right here, you're going to want to push it away from your body to tighten it up and back towards you to loosen it up, if I haven't said that already. So this is pretty loose right now. As you can see, the Senko falls off the bait too quick for me. So if I casted that in the air right now, that'd probably give me a bird's nest. So I want to tighten that up. I think that's still a bit too loose, so still too loose. So gotta find a right. I think this is pretty good. I think just about this speed is pretty good. Just about that speed on the fall, maybe a bit more, is perfect for far distance casting. So let's get to some far distance casting. Everything is set. I'm ready to go. So let's do it. I really like this 610 medium heavy Lew's rod. It is a great rod. You can feel the slightest of bites from bass, and this thing is just amazing. You can control your bait super good in the water. So I love this rod a lot. These wind grips really allow you to control these cranks really great. Corner up, give her a couple more casts. Do one more cast, see how far we can get this Texas rig Senko out. I think we can get this 50 or so yards out on a, it's not super powerful cast. It's about 40 yards out there. I kind of casted not at a great angle, so could have got it more like 50, 60 yards. So really good for a bait caster in this price range. Do one last far distance cast, and then we will be out. Alright guys, that is the end of the far distance casting test, guys. So now we're going to get to the outro. Oh, I didn't see you guys there. So that is it for this Lew's Laser TXS review and setup video, guys. I hope you liked it. Just a quick overview of this rod. It has great brake knobs, great tension knobs. It is a 610 medium heavy with wind grips all over this rod. It is a 7:5:1 gear ratio rod, IM7, and it is a speed stick and a speed spool made by Lew's. This rod coming in at $120 just blew me away. This thing is amazing. This thing is a beast of a rod, guys. I hope you go pick this thing up. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Peace.